Welcome to Goldfish on Games, where today we're checking out the alternative world where dinosaurs and humans live and work together in the epic adventure of Lost Eden. Made by Cryo and published by Virgin in 1995, this is the DOS version of the game. It was also ported and released on the CDI, 3DO and PC-98. There was also a CD32 version in development that was actually previewed but never released. And while it has a nice looking box in Europe, the US artwork is a little odd. It looks like they couldn't decide what to put on the box, so they put everything. But I'm going to bet the back of its box was much easier to read than this. Inside the box we get the game on a CD and a manual, which actually hints at how far through the CD32 version must have been, as it's actually mentioned in the credits. The game opens up with this epic intro sequence. That when it finishes, it drops you straight into the game. There's no menu or title screen, so if you want to load up a save game, then you're going to have to do it from the in-game menu. Thankfully, you can get to the system menu pretty quickly by looking at our hero, but it is a little annoying that you have to go into the game to be able to load up your save. The narrator of our story is this old pterodactyl, and how do we know he's old? Well, it's pretty much the second thing he tells you.
My name is Eloy, and I am old. These days...
Exposition tends to be given in a slightly heavy-handed way, though thankfully not as bad as Dune, which had this amazing line.
I am the Duke Leto Atreides, your father.
But it still has the king reminding us of our dead mother and sister right at the start, so I'm sure that won't be important at all.
That your sister and your mother, my beloved Jelana, were murdered not more than one day's march from here.
You interact with the world via the floating cube, which you move around via the mouse, and it will change itself if there's something that you can do. Like right now, I can move left, which will play an animation and we'll end up back where we started. But you can also interact with various characters, pick up objects, and view the world.
Show me where you want to go.
The game was obviously inspired by Myst, as well as Cryo's own earlier work in the CD-ROM version of Dune, as it's full of 3D rendered shots as well as animated sequences that take you between them. This is very much a story-driven game, as at its heart it's an adventure game with some light world building mechanics. And it turns out there's this band of Tyran dinosaurs that are under the evil leader Morcus Rex, and they've been trying to do their best to wipe out all other animals on the planet. They were also responsible for the aforementioned killing of your mother and sister. And since that day the king has been holed up in the great citadel of Mo. But young Adam has come of age, and he is restless to see the world. His adventure starts when he sneaks out to meet up with an old dinosaur, who informs you of your great destiny, and then promptly dies.
My power to help you, I will. It is time. The ancestors beckon me. Farewell.
But I must say that his granddaughter really doesn't seem all that broken up about it.
Grandfather Tao's spirit has traveled to the Valley of Mists.
That might be due to the fact he acts as the game's hint system when you use his magical item.
Speak, and you will find.
The end goal of all this early adventuring is that you find out the secret of how to build the Great Citadels, which was lost when your grandfather, the Tyrant, messed up the balance between mankind and the dinosaurs. Which turned out to be a bad idea, as the secret to building these structures that could withstand the evil Tyrans was humans and dinosaurs working together. So as you can imagine, your great quest is to unite the lands against a common foe.
Once the citadel had been built, men were able to defend themselves and the dinosaurs against the invaders. Our races were strong.
Now I'm trying to be quite careful in not giving away too much of the story, or some of the solutions to the puzzles, as I quite enjoyed the game and I feel others should get the chance to play it without spoilers as well. And luckily you can actually buy this on GOG and Steam. Our first real interaction with the main baddie, Morcus Rex, is done when you collect this square and activate it, which acts as a communication device that gives Rex the chance to mock us, as well as trying to scare us off. But this doesn't deter Adam, as he finally gets his father's blessing to leave the city of Mo and go fulfill his destiny, which involves travelling to new lands, trying to find the local tribes and dinosaurs, and then get them to work together to build a citadel, which forms a large part of the gameplay and can be seen as the middle of 3 parts to the game. When you first arrive in an area, you'll get this overview map, where you can then select where you want to go, and then you can travel around the map at the ground level, using the cursor to move left, right, forwards or back. This is important as you'll need to find not only the NPCs to interact with, but also objects that will help along the way. Although some will just be given to you.
Oh, Thug happy now.
You'll end up having to fully explore each area multiple times as new herds show up and you'll have to track them down. And as you go through the game, you'll discover multiple locations across the world, but the basics of what you need to do in each is very similar. You'll need to find the local tribe, and then sometimes solve a small puzzle to do with them.
Kodo, we need more than a citadel. The Tyrant are so ferocious that we can't hold them back without the help of the Velociraptors.
Then you'll have to find some Brontosauruses. Now these can be persuaded to help you out if you give them a mushroom. But be careful, as there's 2 varieties of mushrooms and they only like one of them. After feeding them, you can then give them a little tune on your whistle and they'll join up and help start the process of building. The next step is to get rid of the Tyrants, who have been harassing the local people. And they can even kill you if you stumble across them, although it's only if you hang around them for a bit too long, so it's not an instant death if you stumble across them. Thankfully, there will always be some friendly Velociraptors, but they need 2 things before they'll help. The first is gold. Not entirely sure what a dinosaur needs with gold, but hey, it's what they want and you can find some randomly along the river edges. The other thing they need is a magical item. You'll be offered a number of these items by one of the tribes.
They seem to like the eye in the storm.
And you'll have to work out which item goes with which group. Luckily, you don't have to guess, as there's this underwater dinosaur that likes apples, so if you feed them one, they'll give you a cryptic clue on what's needed in this area. As you liberate more areas and meet more of the tribes, the game story will slowly unfold, all while the members of your party will come and go, which you can see at a glance at the top of the screen, or in more detail if you click on it, which includes finding Eve, who seems to quite like you. Wait, Adam? Eve? Ooh, I wonder if they were hinting at something here. You can also interact with each of the companions and get their input on items or just the general state of affairs. The tribes in each area are quite unique.
We know many things about the building has started on our citadel.
I will go with you in the valley.
Work continues on our
Now I believe they're all meant to be human or some close cousin, as they don't have to be translated like the majority of the dinosaurs. Luckily there are a few companions who will act as translators for us, and there should always be one in the party that can help you out. And after creating citadels in each of the major areas, then meeting up with another woman that I'm sure wasn't hinted at any way in the early exposition, the more adventure game elements start to return, as you have to find magic items,
Only by a golden sword of great age and beauty. I do not see it.
move around mazes,
Turn right, Adam. Turn right.
and then trick a poor tongueless man into guiding his spirit into the afterlife. So just normal everyday adventuring tropes.
He is overwhelmed by your generosity. He says he...
And eventually you'll meet up with Morcus Rex face to face in the last part of the game. But don't just rush him headlong, as you might get one of the many deaths that await you in this game. The The game has this wonderful soundtrack playing in the background, which was made by Stefan Peak. Who has worked on some of my favourite games, including Jumping Jackson, Ghost Bubble, as well as Dune. And it does seem to have touches of most of those games woven through it. And amazingly, this soundtrack was actually released on CD and is even on Spotify. This is very much a Cryo game. It's lovely to look at, has great music, a mostly interesting story, if slightly clunky in some of its dialogue, with an emphasis on adventuring and light gameplay sections. For the most part, it comes together as something greater than those parts, but it does feel as if it might have been a little rushed, or that there was plans for a second game to tie up some of the loose ends. And it would have been better if the middle section was a little less repetitive, as it feels like you have to solve a puzzle once and then repeat it a number of times before you can unlock the next portion of the story. And at the time it got mixed reviews, with people wanting either more of the adventuring or more of the world building, though I feel the gameplay has actually aged quite well, as we tend to have more of these story driven games these days. Amazingly, I completed this game for the first time just recently, so I didn't have any nostalgia to fall back on. It was the characters, the story and the atmosphere that kept me coming back for more. And I'd love to hear what you thought about this game if you played it in the past. And until next time, I was the Goldfish, that was Adam of Mo, and this was Goldfish on Games. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you can let me know down in the comments, or you can use those buttons just below. You know the ones I mean. Or if you're not sure yet, then you can check out 2 other videos that I've done that are on the screen right now. So thank you again, and I hope to see you soon.